Okay, children. So once again, I'm here with a few more questions from the topic waste management. Okay, and in the earlier video, if you remember, we have discussed about a few very short answer questions, and now I'm going to continue with the same. Actually, the questions from the same topic, right? And these questions are basically, it can come as a short answer question, it can come even as a an MCQ also, right? So the main thing is you should cover all these important points what are being discussed here, right? Now, first of all, the first question is, what is pollution? Pollution basically, it can be described as unfavorable alteration of our surroundings, okay, which occurs mainly because of human activities. Now, pollution created by waste accumulation is mainly of three types. Basically, these are related to air, water, and soil. Whenever the air quality is degraded because of the waste accumulation, that is called air pollution. Whenever it is actually degrading the quality of water, that is called water pollution. And whenever it happens with the land or the soil, that is called as the soil pollution. Okay. Next question is, what do you mean by spoilage of landscape? Spoilage means when we dump all the waste matter outside, suppose in an open area. Suppose open dumping is the best example of it, right? So whenever all that waste is dumped outside, that actually spoils the landscape, and even it causes several other side effects also, which are actually very dangerous. Basically, spoilage of landscape is directly related to improper disposal of the waste. Okay, the waste accumulation not only ruins the natural beauty of the land, but also provides a home to several vectors, or you can say the various disease carriers like rats and other organisms, right? So sources of these wastes may be the paper mills or the fertilizer and manufacturing units or the mines, or it can be agricultural sector also, right? Or from the domestic side or the household side also, the waste is dumped outside. Okay, so all these ultimately result in the spoilage of landscape. Okay, this means the spoilage of landscape. Next is, what is eutrophication? Again, an important term for you. Okay, now eutrophication basically is what? It is the process of depletion of oxygen. Okay, and in this case, you will find the process of depletion of oxygen from the water bodies take place, and it is occurring either naturally or due to the human activities. Basically, it's commonly seen due to the various human activities these days. And the process of eutrophication takes place due to introduction of nutrients and chemicals through discharge of domestic sewage, you can say, right, which is having high content of detergents. Then next is industrial effluents, then fertilizers from agricultural fields, right? All these things basically, children, these are having high content of basically the phosphorus, okay? And algae and phytoplanktons use carbon dioxide, inorganic nitrogen, and phosphate from the water as food. And this causes death of most of the aquatic organisms, right? So this is actually the eutrophication. It actually causes a thin layer of algae to develop over the water bodies. Sorry. Okay. So this causes the penetration of sunlight is actually restricted in that case, and that is how several aquatic organisms start dying. Okay, now next is, what is municipal waste? Municipal waste is the waste generated in a municipality, or you can say a local government area, and such waste is produced by shops, then you can say the offices, right? Restaurant, then schools, then hospitals, then you can say these are actually collected from the public waste bins, right? Then next is actually next question is, what is waste disposal? Waste disposal is the management of waste to prevent harm to the environment, injury, or long-term progressive damage to health. Okay, disposal of waste is where the intention is to permanently store the waste for the duration of its biological and chemical activity, such that it is rendered harmless. Okay, that is actually the purpose behind the waste management. Okay, and how does an incinerator work? Now we are talking about one of the methods of disposing of the waste. Okay, and waste material is brought to the incinerator facility. Now these are actually big chambers. Okay, this I discussed in the earlier video also about it, right? This is actually where it is loaded into one of several burn chambers, right? The waste is burned for several hours until it is reduced to ashes and molten metal, and the remaining ash is then transported to a landfill for final disposal. So a lot of waste is there, and within a few minutes that changes into very small quantity of it. Okay, so this is how it helps us in disposing of the waste, and especially what type of waste? Hazardous waste especially, right? How can an incinerator help in reducing the pollution? Now, in this question, you can see incinerators are permitted to emit certain air pollutants within a range that is not harmful to human health and the environment. Because, when these wastes are being burnt, naturally some um, such gases are going to get emitted, right? But that is very limited as compared to the total waste which is getting disposed of in this manner. Okay, the incinerator must be designed with appropriate pollution control equipment that removes small particles from emissions prior to the discharge into the atmosphere. Okay, and in burning the waste, an incinerator reduces, the total volume of waste material is going to the landfill by almost 80 to 90%, more than 90%, 95% of it is reduced. Okay, so this is how it is somehow it's helping us a lot in actually solving the problem of pollution. Okay, so it reduces the pollution. Then next question is, can earthworms help in the composting process? Yes, definitely it helps in that. Earthworms are actually a good sign of healthy soil. Okay, and vermicomposting, which is the use of earthworms in composting, okay, is very important in the composting process. In fact, earthworms can greatly speed up the composting process, and the castings and earthworm poop to actually in the soil is high in nitrogen. Okay, so this is how it is very helpful in the you can say making the soil fertile. Okay, and because the compost is totally natural, okay, it's totally organic manure, so it is not going to cause any such effect like biomagnification or any such thing. Okay, so it further improves the fertility of the soil. Then next is an incinerator good for the environment? Incinerators can be good for the environment simply because the reason behind that is they greatly reduce the volume of materials that go to the landfills. Okay, the total amount of waste which is generated every day, to a great extent, that is reduced just because of the incinerators. Okay, so in some cases, incinerators are permitted to burn hazardous wastes which would otherwise be buried in the ground in a hazardous waste landfill, and that would cause several other side effects, right? Along with diseases and several the different reasons behind pollution of different types. Okay, so instead of doing that, we are using incinerators, which is actually solving out this problem. Okay, next question is, what are some items of our home that can be recycled? Now, just think of it. You yourself will be able to identify several things at your home which can be actually used for recycling. Okay, instead of throwing it away in the waste, right? We can use it for recycling, right? We can send it to the recycle units. What are such items? You can say like these include the aluminum and steel cans, okay, then newspapers, then plastic and glass bottles, then several rechargeable batteries, automotive batteries, right? Several tires, then clothes, and a lot of food waste. Okay, these are the things which can again be recycled. Okay, what does the recycling symbol with the three arrows represent? Yes, what does that represent? The recycling symbol with the three arrows represents the three steps in the recycling process. Number one is collection and processing of recyclable materials. Number two is manufacturing of those materials into new products. And number three is products sold to consumers, which then starts the process over again. So this is how this symbol is actually very important in the recycling. What are the three R's of waste management now? Again, one symbol is there. We are talking of, this is actually 3R, okay, which we discuss a lot in the waste management. In the modern industrial world, the waste has become an environmental and public health hazard. Okay, and to get rid of the waste is a big problem, in front of the various authorities, and especially just imagine of those countries which are having very small land area. So if they are going to just dump all the waste in open, there will be a big problem for the other things for which they need land area. Okay, for settlements, for industries, and for construction purpose and all. So the waste disposal is a big issue these days, right? So at present in the modern world, waste can be effectively managed by using the following three strategies. Okay, number one is reducing the waste. Okay, reducing the waste, that means the waste is reduced at its origin point only, right? Number two is reusing the waste. Whatever we can reuse out of the total waste material, we should actually reuse that. This is how we are somehow reducing the total amount of waste. Okay, and the third thing is recycling the waste. Recycling means those materials which can easily be recycled into something new. Such things are sent to the recycle units, and there the recycling is done. So the three R's are basically reducing, reusing, and recycling. Okay, reducing, reusing, recycling. Clear? Now, why are recycled plastic bags considered harmful for the environment? Plastics are recycled by plastic manufacturers. Okay. Now, plastic is non-biodegradable. We all know it very well, right? The bonds of carbon and plastic are impossible to break down through a physical or chemical process. They have to be you can say they can be sent to the incinerators. Okay, they can be recycled or buried in landfills. Now, the plastic bags, which are extensively used in India, are made from recycled plastic, right? And the recycled plastic bags are harmful because the melting of plastic and the plastic products breaks some polymer chains into smaller units, which are very, very harmful for the entire environment. Okay, so keeping that in mind, we can say that the plastic is very harmful, right? Next is source reduction good for the environment? Now, source reduction, this is again something a very important term from the examination point of view. This is very important for you children. Try to understand what is it. Source reduction. Source reduction is definitely good for the environment. And what is it actually? It is actually a better alternative than recycling or the incineration and landfilling and all that. Okay. In the case of source reduction, what is done? If we don't want anything, right? If we limit our demands, we can reduce the total production, right? And if we don't produce the waste in the first place, then there is nothing to be recycled or the incinerate or to be sent to the landfills. right? So that problem is somehow it is solved at the initial stage only. So source reduction means fewer resources are used in the production of a product, right? Or initially, you can take the example like at our homes also, we can limit our demands, right? This is how we can limit the total waste which is actually getting generated every day. This is also a part of source reduction, right? Next is explain the role of an individual in maintaining environmental standards. Now, this is one thing, children, I want to tell you, like it can come as in the exams, generally this type of questions come, right? And it can come in any of the ways. It can come as an individual, as it is given here in the question, role of an individual in maintaining environmental standards, or it may come as as suppose you are a student, and what is your role in maintaining the environmental standards of your school, right? Then the question may come in the other way. Suppose you are a person in the society, and there as an individual, what you can do for the society regarding this to maintain the environmental standards, right? How you can help to maintain the environmental quality. So these questions can come in different ways, but you should have the points always in your mind, like what you can do in that way, right? The role of every individual in environmental protection is of great importance, because if every individual contributes substantially, right, the effect will be visible not only at the community or city or national level, but also at the global level as a whole. And each individual should change his or her lifestyle in such a way as to, you can say, as to reduce the environmental pollution. And a small initiative can actually prove to be a big change, right? It can be done in following ways. Number one is we can use carry bags, okay, made of paper or cloth instead of the polythene bags, right? Number two, use eco-friendly products, generally the products which are actually going to cause a problem in the disposal, right? So instead of using that, let's start using the eco-friendly products which can easily be recycled or it can be easily disposed of. Next is we can use the CFC free refrigerators or the air conditioners and all, right? Then use organic manure instead of commercial inorganic fertilizers or pesticide insecticides. Then next is plant more trees, as trees can absorb many toxic gases and can purify the air by releasing oxygen. Then we can have the compost, the several pits we can actually prepare in our surrounding areas, and we can help the other people also, we can guide the other people also to use that pit to actually convert the biodegradable waste into manure or into the compost, which can again be used by all the people for their kitchen gardens. Okay, so these are a few things we can suggest in that case. Then how is soil pollution caused? First of all, how is soil pollution caused? What is soil pollution? And then the causes of it. Okay, there are two questions coming under this. Number one, soil pollution. It is usually the result actually of the disposal of solid and semi-solid waste in agricultural practices or the industrial processes, or you can say the sanitary habits, right? This is how all the waste which is there in open, that causes the soil pollution. Okay, and that causes the soil to become infertile. Now, what are the major causes behind it? You can take the first cause is the industrial waste, which is dumped outside and without getting treated properly, right? Then the mining waste, right? Which is just dumped outside again from the when the mining is done. All the waste matter which is actually done while digging, all the minerals are taken, and rest of the particles are just dumped outside. So that is again one thing. The next is agricultural practices. Agricultural practices you can take, like the fertilizers are used to increase the fertility of the soil. They often contaminate the soil with impurities present in them. And when the fertilizers are contaminated with other synthetic organic chemicals, the soil water gets polluted. So this is how all these are interrelated. Next is explain the effect of accumulation of solid waste on aquatic and terrestrial life. Now, how the accumulation of solid waste can affect the various living beings. Number one is ammonia seems to be an integral poison to fish, right? Number two, bioaccumulation in seabirds and marine mammals. Okay. Number three, in aquatic ecosystems, cadmium can bioaccumulate. Then number four is air contaminated with ozone has irritant qualities and is responsible for pulmonary changes. Next is oil is reported to coat the gills of fish, which affects their respiration. So these are just a few examples, okay, which how these aquatic and terrestrial living beings are getting affected. Okay. Now let's talk about the next example. What is incineration? And give advantage and disadvantage of incinerator. Okay. Now, first of all, what is incineration? Incineration is again a process of destroying the waste materials by burning. Okay. And incineration is carried out both on a small scale by individuals and on a large scale also by the various industries. Now, what are the basic advantages of it? These are again important, right? It can come as a separate question that mention two advantages of incineration or mention two disadvantages or what is incineration. So prepare it accordingly. So advantages, it is a useful technology to deal with large quantities of organic hazardous wastes, okay, that have high calorific value and cannot be dealt with by other methods. Okay. Next is incineration kills pathogenic organisms and reduces the volume of the waste up to you can say 90%, not 50%. You can say always it is reduced to almost 80 to 90% of the total waste is reduced in this way. And what about the disadvantages? Incineration equipment has high maintenance requirements. It's very costly procedure. Okay. And next is incineration consumes significant amount of energy to achieve high temperature. So this is actually very expensive. Next is explain the role of government in waste management. How the government can play its role. Basically, the government is not just the protector of the country's environment, but also has a major responsibility for sustaining the environmental concerns. The government's environmental policies focuses on the following areas, especially number one is to check the degradation of land and water. Okay. Restore the river water quality by various programs which they actually introduce in different areas. Then to monitor development through environmental impact assessment, okay, by various studies which are done in this regard. Then next is to make several laws and acts to have proper execution of these laws should be done, and for that purpose actually the to initiate the penal measures against those who violate these laws. So these all are actually the steps which are being taken by the government at different levels. So government also has its important role in actually waste management, right? Then next is what happens to the garbage after it is put into a landfill. After the garbage is buried in the landfill, it will begin to break down as aerobic and anaerobic microorganisms and which decompose the garbage. Okay, though it takes a long time, but it happens. And this activity causes methane gas also to be created, which is again collected and burned off at one or more points on the landfill. right? So this is how it is done. And over time, most biodegradation slows down dramatically. And if these same materials were exposed to oxygen, water and sunlight, you would have seen that aerobic microorganisms would decompose the waste materials much faster. But here what has happened, it has been covered by a thin layer of soil. So that is why after some time you'll find the biodegradation process gets slow. Okay. Now, next is, how does composting work? When grass, leaves, food waste, manure, and woody materials are placed in the ground, microorganisms from the ground begin to eat the material. Okay, they start breaking down the material into small particles, and the breakdown of this material is speed up with assistance from air, water, and sunlight. Generally, it will take several months for the material to become compost. And once the compost is formed, it can be used in the various like agricultural fields and the kitchen gardens and all as an important manure. Okay. Now, next is discuss the functioning of air scrubbers. Air scrubbers are the anti-pollution devices, okay, and which are visible as metal pipes, which are used to trap the particles from the emissions of gaseous waste. And these scrubbers prevent these pollutants from entering into the atmosphere. Okay, so in the air scrubber, the pollutants are removed from the gas emissions by spraying the scrubber liquid directly into the emissions, right? So the dirty particles are surrounded by the scrubber's liquid and which are then carried with the gas emissions into the cylinder. As the gas is cycled upwards through the cylinder, the liquid covered particles drop from the gas in the contaminated liquid reservoir. Okay, this is how the air scrubber works. Clear? Then next is explain why is it so important to recycle. Now this is again an important question, children. Recycle is something important, fine. Recycling means when anything which is difficult to get decomposed, right, which is non-biodegradable, okay, and which can easily be converted into something new. So such items, such materials are taken together and they are sent to the recycle units. Okay, that is called recycling. But why it is important? What are the advantages of it? That is very, very important question for you. Okay, so please go through this question very carefully. Number one is that recycling conserves the natural resources. How do you think the natural resources are conserved in this way? Just think of it. Uh, I'm giving you one example. Okay. Suppose for making of paper, right? Several trees are cut for making of the paper and several books and notebooks and all what we use daily, right? Now, if we recycle the paper, that paper actually can be used for making the new notebooks. Maybe, okay, fine, that it can be of low grade, right? But it can be reused again. Okay, so that is actually going through the recycle units and it is used in that way. Where the trees would be cut, right? In that case, the trees are not being cut, and here the same things are going to get recycled to form something new, to take the other shape. Okay, so in this way we are actually, in this way we are somehow conserving the plants as well as several other natural resources also, like minerals, you can say. Any metallic object is there, it is again it is molten in the various recycle units, and again it is transformed into, it is converted into something new. So instead of using the raw mineral, we are using the same thing to actually convert that into something new. Okay, so we are conserving the mineral resource also there. So in this way, children, you'll find several such examples where we are conserving the natural resources of our country. Number two, recycling conserves the landfill space. Okay, when we recycle, recycling means we have taken out some waste from there, which can be recycled, which can be sent to the recycle units. So we are actually reducing the total amount of waste which is disposed of there in the landfill. Okay, so there we are actually conserving that space also, landfill space also from there, right? By reducing the total amount of waste. Then recycling employs people. Different stages actually when the recycling is done, there are different stages, right? And these are being done by different people. So all these people are somehow they are getting employment. Okay, so it actually helps in giving the employment to several poor people. Recycling employs people who collect the recyclable material, number one. Number two, process the material or get it ready to sell to a manufacturer. Number three, transport the materials to factories where it will be turned into new products, right? So in this way, at different stages, you'll find different work is being done by the different people. Understood. So next question, next point is recycling conserves energy. Yes, definitely it conserves energy because without any question, we can say recycling conserves the energy that would be necessary to create the same product from its raw material, or you can say raw resource. Instead of that, we are conserving that energy, and in a very small amount of energy, we are converting the same thing into something new. Okay, so in this way, we are conserving the energy resource also, right? Now, next is recycling reduces our dependence on the overseas natural resources. This is important in two ways, you know. Number one is it reduces our dependence on overseas oil and gas, okay, which has national security implications. Number two, it reduces our foreign trade deficit, which is important to the strength of our economy. Okay, so overall, if you see, recycling is such an important thing in the present world, which actually should be done in each and every country. Okay, next is discuss the processes of common recyclable items. Now, aluminium. Let's talk about aluminium. Many beverage containers are aluminium made, which can be melted and recycled. Okay, they are crushed and then they are put into furnace and melted to form the ingots or sheets. Right? This is how it is done. And next is the glasses. Suppose scrap glass is called cullet, right? Which melts at lower temperature than other raw materials, thus saving fuel and money both. So scrapped glass is sorted by color and made free from impurities. So cullet is melted in a furnace to make new glass. Okay. Then next is what is made from recyclable materials like aluminum cans we are talking of, right? So these are melted down and recycled into new aluminum cans and other products made of aluminum. Number two is newspapers. These are grinded up, okay, and made into newsprint, cereal boxes, okay, the cartons and all. Then the cellulose insulation. Insulation is done now for to keep the houses warm. So that is done with the help of it. Then paper egg cartons, right? And ceiling tiles, all these are made with the help of this, right? Then glass bottles, these are crushed, melted, and recycled into more glass bottles, or they can be used along with sand and gravel in asphalt roads, right? In the construction roads. Then next is automobile scrap tires. These are generally chipped and burned as a fuel in place of, or you can say in addition to coal, right? So scrap tires are also manufactured into numerous rubber products, including rubber mats and rubber bumpers and all. Okay, so this is how these can be recycled. Then next question we are going to discuss is about the you have to discuss these give reasons why e-waste is considered as very harmful as compared to any other type of wastes. What will you say in this? Because the e-waste generally is more harmful than any other type of waste because always there is a danger of radiation, okay, from these e-wastes. And that's why always we need to be very alert when we dispose it off, okay, because the radiation, once the radiation is there, it will cause harm to the living beings and the entire environment as a whole, whether it is the air or the water bodies, or you can say the land or the soil, right? Along with all the living beings. So to actually keep that away, right? To keep ourselves safe, we have to be very careful when we actually dispose of the e-waste, right? What are the reasons for spoilage of landscape? Just now in the earlier part, we have discussed all this. Spoilage of landscape is due to improper disposal of wastes. Okay. Why is composting important? It is important because it puts organic materials back into the ground, which is necessary for a naturally healthy lawn and the gardens. Okay. Then next is, why do we have landfills, and are they really necessary? Landfills, basically, the garbage that is disposed of each day by municipalities and the various authorities and the industries must be done in an environmentally safe manner. Okay. And landfills are one way to dispose of our solid waste in a safe way, right? So we have landfills because not every item is thrown out or discarded, but at least that which can not be reused, which cannot be recycled, which cannot be actually converted into you can say the compost and all, that can be thrown out in the landfills. Okay. Now after this, next is differentiate between the following. Now, basically, the two things we need to discuss here, biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. What can you say in this? Biodegradable waste, simply, it is the waste which breaks down and decompose by microorganisms, okay, like bacteria and fungi and all, right? And examples, you can say wood, paper, etc. And non-biodegradable waste is that which includes all that material which does not break down or decompose, right? So these include the plastics and polybags, etc. Clear? Now, next is name the following. Name 3 diseases which occur because of waste accumulation in an open area. It can be diarrhea, it can be dysentery, it can be cholera, it can be viral hepatitis. Okay, these all are such diseases. Next is name the methods for disposal of solid, liquid, and gaseous waste. Solid waste disposal methods you can see. Number 1 is dumping, number 2 is incineration, and number 3 is composting. Okay, and next is the liquid waste disposal methods: grit chamber, sedimentation, digestion, and drying. Okay. Gaseous waste disposal methods are air scrubbers and electrostatic precipitators. These are the various methods how we can dispose of the different type of wastes. Now, name 2 common diseases caused as a result of gaseous pollution: lung cancer, asthma, then bronchitis. All these are such diseases. Then, which is the cheapest way of disposing of the waste? Open dumping is the cheapest and the easiest method of disposing of the waste, because actually we are not disposing of the waste. We are just taking the entire waste from one place and we just dump it all that waste in any other area, generally in the outskirts, or you can say in away from the settlement areas. Okay, that is called open dumping. So it is the cheapest way and the easiest method of open dump disposal of waste. Next is separation of waste according to its nature is called what? That is segregation. Okay. Next, some MCQs are there. And out of all these MCQs, you can just have a look. These are just a few examples of it. But once you go through all the topics which are there under the waste management, you will find that if you go through both these videos, maximum topics have been covered. Okay. And wherever you have seen all the question answers are there also the MCQs can be formed. So I would suggest to read the chapter once at least, okay, very carefully, and keep on marking wherever you find any important thing which you feel that it can come as an MCQ. So that all that points should be properly marked, or you can note it down somewhere. So that will help in covering the entire MCQs, whatever can be formed from any topic. Okay. And this is applicable in all the subjects, not only geography, in all the subjects, because MCQs have become an important part of all the papers these days. Okay. According to the latest pattern which the council has actually introduced. Okay. So MCQs, a few MCQs are there in front of you. The first one is process of converting wet waste into manure is called, yes, incineration, composting, segregation, and recycling. It is composting. Okay. Number two, which one of the following is a hygienic way of disposing solid waste and is more suitable if the waste contains hazardous material and organic content? Oxidation, incineration, subgrading, and composting. It is incineration. Okay. Next is, which is actually the out of all these, which one is not a part of the 3 R's as a part of waste management? Okay. Reduce, reuse, report, and recycle. It is basically, yes, report. Report is the correct answer of it. Okay. Then after this, next one is, which of the following is done on an individual level? Burning, disposal, recycling, or source reduction? Source reduction is the one way which is actually done at the individual level, right? Then next one, the organic material of the solid waste will decompose by what way? Number one is by the flow of water. Number two is by the soil particles. Number three is by the action of microorganisms. Number four is by oxidation. The correct answer is by the action of microorganisms. Okay. Next, when the organic matter present in the sanitary landfill decomposes, it generates which gas? Methane, nitrogen, hydrogen, or all of the above gases? Sorry. So the answer will be methane. Okay. And the next one is hospital waste, such as body fluids and cloth soiled with the blood, is termed as toxic waste, soiled waste, recyclable waste, or none of the above. It is soiled waste, right? And which of the following method is used to separate the solid waste from liquid waste? Incineration, segregation, precipitation, or composting? The correct answer for this is precipitation. Okay. So children, this is all with the topic waste management, right? Now, in the next video, I am going to take another important topic for the exams, right? And from your syllabus, these topics are actually very, very important. And if you want to cover that topic in just a few minutes, you can go through these videos, right? Because maximum part of the topics are being covered by these questions. Okay. So see you soon in the next video, right? Till then, bye.